Hey Virgo, welcome to Sweet Tea Astrology and Tarot. My name is Erica. Welcome to the channel. I'm so glad that you found me. This is your mid-month February 2017 video where I'm going to discuss one astrological transit that I didn't get to in your February video, and then I'm going to pull some cards for you. So, Virgo, why don't you sit a spell so we can talk about your stars? On the 27th or 28th of the month, depending on where you live on the planet, we will be experiencing what I'm calling a tug of war in the sky, which is basically going to be tension between two different astrological houses in your chart. So, this will be between Aries and Libra. Aries is hosting Mars, Uranus, and the planetoid Eris. Mars represents energy, impulse, and aggression. Uranus represents change, liberation, rebellion, and shocks and surprises. Eris, the planetoid, when it was first discovered, it was originally named Xena for the 1990 series Xena Warrior Princess. And so she's known as the goddess of war. She's also known as Ares' little sister, but when she was named Eris, she took on the characteristics as the goddess of discord as well. This will be in exact opposition to Jupiter, the gas giant that wherever Jupiter goes makes bigger for better or for worse in Libra. So, Virgo, this is going to be playing out between your 8th house and your 2nd house. The 8th house is the house of Scorpio, and that's the house of life, death, and rebirth, regeneration, transformation, metamorphosis, your instincts, be them primal, basic, or human, dealing with other people's money, and sexuality. Other people's money is money that comes to you through either somebody else's hard work or it's not through your work. It's tax returns. It's gifts. It could be lottery winnings. It's scholarships, grants, loans, your spouse's money. And the opposition will be occurring from the 8th house to the 2nd house, and that's the house of Taurus, the house of mine. The house of your money, earning ability, self-esteem, possessions, anything you could point to, classify, identify, or introduce as mine would fall under this 2nd house umbrella. So, you're dealing with two pretty intimate houses, the house of others and the house of mine. So, forewarned is forearmed. Understand, Virgo, that this energy will be presenting us with the feeling of having later regrets. So what you can do to avoid them is to count to 10 and remain grounded. Also, you can use this energy before it uses you. So get out there and work out. I've not told many signs this, but because you're having the energy play out in the 8th house, it would be a great thing for you to possibly just maybe have some really great sex with your partner. Would be a great way to work that energy out and not have anybody get their feelings hurt. So just one really literal way of using that energy, or else it will use you. If you don't, then you may have arguments about money or something like that. You could be feeling very anxious and meaner than a rattlesnake. Understand that if you're dealing with anybody that has any strong Aries, Scorpio, or Aquarius energy, they might be dealing with migraines or head issues, because Aries rules the head, and we've got all of this stuff going on in Aries in opposition to Libra, which could just make the situation bigger. Also, another thing to recognize is that under this influence, confrontations are possible. And those confrontations could escalate into arguments. And there is a possibility of eruptions, which doesn't just mean in your personal world, but also in the world around you. That can be socially, politically, or geophysically, be it with volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, or the like. There are two different channels that I follow on YouTube that deal with earthquake prediction. One is really good at focusing on where earthquakes may strike, and that's Suspicious Observers. And the other one is a channel name that I'm probably going to just massacre. It's Diatrinium, where he uses the planetary angles to forecast the magnitude of the events, and has been very successful just in me watching has been very successful in his prediction rate. So like I said, Virgo, forewarned is forearmed. I'm going to transition over to these card decks now. I'm going to show you the Sage Goddess Gemstone Oracle deck box because I'm going to pull you a card from this deck. I'm also going to pull a card from the Divine Circus Oracle deck by Elena Fairchild. And I'm also going to pull a card from the Healing and Meditation Oracle deck for you, Virgo. So let's shuffle, shall we? Alright, Virgo. I'm going to also take this time while I'm shuffling to remind you that this is a general reading. So if it doesn't resonate for you, that's fine. You've got a piece of each of the zodiac in you through your chart. Meaning, each of the houses is ruled by a chart, or by a zodiac ruler. And, so some of those energies will be more pronounced than others, just depending on what's going on in that house. I'm going to pull that one aside because it just kind of flew out. I'm sorry. If you want to know about your moon and rising sign placements and you don't know where to do that, I invite you to check out, go Google the words free natal chart, fill out the information. They're going to want your exact birth time, place, and birth date. And it will generate a chart for you that will show where the planets were at the moment that you were born. And it will also show your rising sign. Once you've generated that chart, check on YouTube or do an online tutorial to try to figure out where your moon and rising sign placement are. If you've gone through those steps and you still haven't figured it out, you can send me a screenshot of your natal chart and I'll get back to you as soon as possible with those placements because I feel like that's something that everybody needs to know about themselves. And I've had many people contact me, so my email is getting pretty full and I'm trying to stay on top of it, but I just recently started back to school, so just be graceful, please, and understand that I'm doing the best that I can for y'all. Alright, I'm going to pull the bottom card to represent the underlying theme or the overarching energy. I'm going to pull the top card to represent the present. The second card will represent the past, or the past energies. The third will represent the possible obstacles. The fourth, the possible help. And the fifth, the possible outcome. That other card that just kind of that flew out of the deck while I was shuffling, I've got to the side, and once I flip it over, I'll see where that plays out in the story. Now from the Healing and Meditation Oracle deck for my Virgo friends. Oh, and by the way, that extra card is called Lagniappe here in Louisiana where I live. Lagniappe is known as a little something extra. So you've got a Lagniappe card. Congratulations, Virgo. I guess another thing to mention while, oh my goodness, this is, yeah, thank you. Love. I was just fixing to mention the Venus retrograde that we're going to be experiencing all throughout the spring months. Where Venus is right now in the sky, we will be experiencing and revisiting again. So you may want to get out your journal and just write down a couple of the things that are affecting you in love or dealing with your money or in your relationships. If there is a relationship. Okay, that one wanted to jump. And, because you'll be revisiting the situation or seeing it from a different perspective after Venus has made her retrograde motion and goes direct again. That will be occurring for you through the 8th house. So Venus, the planet of love, beauty, harmony, money, and resources, will be transiting the house of sexuality and other people's money. Also life, death, and rebirth. So that could play out in a host of ways for many different Virgos, just depending on what's going on in your chart. Alright. Now, Virgo, what I'm going to do is pause very quickly for the cause, flip these cards over, and do the tarot math, and I'll be right back with your story. Hang tight, y'all. Hi, Virgo. I'm back with your cards, so let's get started. The card that flew out of the deck while I was shuffling was the Queen of Pentacles. Pardon me. Queen of Pentacles is a feminine earth sign energy. That would be Taurus, you Virgo, or Capricorn. I feel like there are some of you Virgos that will be getting pregnant. And I feel like there are a small, very, very, very small percentage of you, very small percentage of you, who may be dealing with the loss of that pregnancy as well. If that's the case, I'm so sorry. The Queen of Pentacles is very much about her money and resources. She likes to know where things are and is able to elevate her status through work. But it's hard work, and it's her work. This is a very maternal type energy, very giving, benevolent, but understanding that she has to take care of herself before she can take care of anyone else. And like I said, that may just, because of the 8th house energy being sexuality, life, death, birth, and rebirth, that's how it's playing out. And with this next card that I'm going to speak about, you can see how I'm seeing that play out, because the Queen of Pentacles definitely looks like she could be with child. Like this is her grown belly where the baby is, and you know how a mother will shield and hold and protect her belly with her hands, much like that. But like I said, very, very small percentage of you. If it's not a child, then it's something that you held very close to you, that you really put a lot of focus, time, and energy into. Could be a relationship that you may be either enduring the loss of or some sort of transformation or rebirth through. And I say that because of this card. This is the 5 of Cups. The 5 represents that 5th house of Leo. It's the house of sparks, your creative spark, the spark of life, but also the spark of romance. It's also the house that has your DNA and fingerprints all over it, because it's where you have the most skin in the game. It's the house of your pleasure circles, and your pleasure seeking, the social life that you have and the people that you mingle with and that you seek pleasure with. It's the house of your children and the creation of your children. It's also the house of romance and the creation of that romance, where you fall in love. But it also is the house of creativity. It is that spark of creation as well. The cups represent water sign energy, and the water signs are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. You are having we're all having a solar eclipse at 8 degrees of Pisces, but you're experiencing it in your 7th house. The solar eclipse is in the water sign of Pisces. Could be that you are possibly enduring this during that influence of the solar eclipse within the next 6 months, some sort of loss in this 5th house, or some sort of growth in that 7th house, is what I'm seeing. You've got Pluto transiting the 5th house. I've got your planetary transits written down here from the first video that I did in the month. You've got Pluto in the 5th. Pluto is that house of deep renewal, deep change, deep transformation. And when I think of plutonic influence change, the best analogy I have is coastal erosion. It's happening every day, but you don't notice the effects or see them unless you're from an elevated aerial or meta perspective, or if you see a before and after picture. This card is very much a card of grief, but also crying over spilled milk. Not recognizing the things that you still have, not even noticing, acknowledging, or giving the time to the things that you have. Actually turning your back on the things that you have. Paying more attention to what was lost than what you still have. And after the fire, and for those of you who have watched me for a long time, you know that I survived a house fire 2 years ago. But after the fire, this was very much my attitude. Crying over spilled milk, very upset over the things that I had lost, and rightfully so, but it hit me on a very deep level. I'm an Aries sun, a Taurus moon, and a Scorpio riser, and of those 3 signs, 2 are fixed, meaning unmovable, resistant to change, has a hard time growing, learning, evolving, letting go. And yeah, this was very much me after the fire. I could not let go of my situation. And I still will get choked up talking about it from time to time. I've just recently got to the point to where I don't cry about it when I talk about it. Because when I talked about it, I'm a Scorpio riser. When I talked about it, it was like I was reliving it as I was talking about it. It's difficult for people to understand that sometimes. And it may have been a very, very sad time for you during this Five of Cups loss. But that's the underlying theme or overarching energy of the spread. So it could be something that you're dealing with now or will be dealing with because of this solar eclipse. It just depends. There's so many different Virgos that I read for, and it depends on your chart, really. Now, the card that represents the present is the Page of Wands. And this guy is interesting because of a few things. Mainly this Venus transit through the 8th house. Because the 8th house is the house of sexuality, and I definitely see this card as a very sexual card. I see the character cards, especially the Page, the Knight, Queen, and King, just those character court cards. When I see them with the Wands, it's a very phallic card for me. And Venus is the planet of love, moving through the 8th house, the house of sexuality and intimacy and other people's money as well. I really feel like this is speaking to that transit. That transit isn't going to actually be kicking off in the retrograde motion until March, but you will be revisiting right now what is going on in your world, because where Venus is at the beginning of February is where she will be tiptoeing back over and into the sign of Pisces. So she'll be in your 8th house and I believe your 7th house for that retrograde. Very phallic card. This guy is eager. He's eager to defend. He's eager to please. He's eager to do many, many, many things. And doesn't necessarily think about the consequences. He will leap first and then look. He will take action and then ask questions later. I also want to point out in the background, these pyramids are making me think of that eruptive quality at the end of the month. I saw that before in a different video when this guy showed up. People are really going to be feeling quite sexual. Many of you Virgos will be feeling very sexual. If not that, argumentative or combative in some way. The card that represents the past is a Major Arcana card. It is the 15th card of the Major Arcana. It is the Devil card. 1 plus 5 is 6, and that speaks to the Virgo ruled house of work and health, or the competency and skills that you bring to the services that you provide. It also deals with your day-to-day life and the daily things that you do to make your life easier and more efficient. Mercury is moving into the 6th house on the 7th or 8th of the month. And you aren't having any long-term transits of the 6th house. But work and health, that's the house that you rule on the astrological wheel. The Devil card represents Capricorn. Capricorn rules the 10th house, and that's the house of what I like to say is a hybridization of a William Shakespeare quote. William Shakespeare said, "All the world is a stage," and I like to see the 10th house as the stage that you approach the world on and how the world knows you. It's through your reputation, through your status. It's through your career. It's through dealing with authorities, either authorities in your world, authorities in the world, or authorities in their field, be them like doctors, lawyers, or professors. This card being in the past could be that you're dealing with someone who has Capricorn energy from the past. It could be that you are dealing with someone who represents some sort of addiction. If it's not a person, it's definitely an addiction that you have that you're struggling with. And you're trying to it's an addiction that you had from the past, or it's an addiction that you're trying to put in the past. It really depends on you and your particular chart. But this is the confrontation of one's self-imposed limitations and one's addictions. Addiction is fluid and it runs the gamut. Anything from sex to porn to masturbation to shopping, to spending money, to eating, to working out, to, I mean, people can be obsessive about anything. Anything that you would be addicted to, this is dealing with. And I want to say that it's probably dealing with a sexual nature or somebody that you've had a sexual relationship with. Probably dealing with someone that you had a maybe an addictive relationship with as well, that has some strong Capricorn energy in them. And you probably dealt with them in one way or another through work, or they may be in the health profession, would be my guess. The underlying, or the, okay, so the present energy is the Page of Wands. The past is the Devil. The obstacle is the Knight of Swords. The obstacle being the Knight of Swords here is interesting, because this is a fast-moving messenger. The swords represent air sign energy, and that is Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And this person knows the facts of the situation and is willing to argue about it, or they think they know the facts of the situation. They may have been misled, because when I see this kind of court card showing up in the obstacle position, it could be that they believe what they're telling you or what they're arguing is correct, but they may be basing it on misinformation or big finger quote fake news. You may be dealing with someone of this variety of the Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius set, but also, you know what? I feel like this is that tug of war. And I say that because the swords is an air sign, Gemini, Libra, where Jupiter is, or Aquarius. And we've got a lot of red here dealing with even the red coming out of the hat for Aries, ruling the head. I feel like this is that tug of war that's going on between your 8th house and your 2nd house, possibly surrounding an air sign as well. If not that, maybe someone who does arguing for a living or advocacy for a living. Or it could be someone you're just hashing it out with. About intimate matters, or possibly going through your budget with a fine-tooth comb and really surgically removing the things that don't need to be there because you're trying to save. Because the 2nd house and 8th house, dealing with your money and other people's money, or your values and possessions and the things that you keep dear to you. And, you know, it's the house of the other and the house of mind that's having that tug of war. So it could be that argument that I was talking about. In the help, the possible help in the situation is the 7 of Cups. The 7, this is very interesting. This speaks to the solar eclipse that's occurring on the 25th or 26th. The solar eclipse is going to bring in new energy to that 7th house for you. And the 7th house is ruled by Libra. That's a house of your partnerships, your relationships, and how you identify who you are as a human being through those interactions with those people. It also deals with open enemies. That can be people that you have an open beef with, someone you would openly testify against and in court against, or, in my opinion, someone who you would argue with against in an online forum, and other people can see, witness, and digest that argument as it happens almost in real time. The water signs are represented here in the cups, and that is Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And we're having that solar eclipse in Pisces, a water sign, in your 7th house, the 7 up here. That's why I say this is very representative of the solar eclipse. Even more so because the eclipses are, aside from ushering in that energy, it's like being in a room where your eyes are acclimated to the light, and then somebody turns off the light and your eyes get acclimated to the dark, and then they turn back on the light. You haven't moved and nothing in the room has changed, but your perspective on the things in the room have changed. You see things a little bit differently now. It's going to be that same idea in that 7th house. You're going to see things from a different perspective, and it could come out of the blue. This card in itself, very much that lights off and then lights back on situation. It could be that you feel as though you don't have as many friends or as many partners in your life, and something happens after because of the solar eclipse, and it shows that you absolutely do have that support system, that support network of friends and relationships that you can lean on. But once again, it's a lights on, lights off kind of situation for you to understand the perspective change coming to you. This card in itself represents having too many options. Also, daydreaming. It could be counting your chickens before your eggs hatch as well, because none of these items have actually manifested into reality. They're still on this cloud that could easily evaporate and take them away. Just as easily as they appeared, they could go away. And it's many different options that seem to be appearing as well in that 7th house. I hope to goodness that it is dealing with the partnerships and friendships and not open enemies. I am sorry to say that some of you will be dealing with open enemies because that's covered under the 7th house. But if that's the case, forewarned is forearmed. Just understand that is what you are up against and be aware of the situation at hand, Virgo. The card that represents the possible outcome is 2 of Pentacles. The 2 represents that 2nd house that you're having that tug of war in. The 2nd house is where Jupiter is in Libra. 2nd house is the house of your money, earning ability, self-esteem, possessions, the things that you care deeply about and want to know where they're at and how they're being spent. Pentacles representing money and resources. Resources can even be your health. Without your health, you can do nothing else. It's also things that you would expend on another living thing or situation that you care deeply about. Time, money, energy, love, devotion, those types of things. I feel like someone is going to have an overinflated sense of self when it comes to their resources in some way. And, or they're you see how the hat's big? It's like overinflated ego, overinflated sense of self, big-headedness, maybe hot-headedness over money and resources, and the roller coaster ride it seems like you have been on when it comes to money and resources, and you are not alone. Many people are struggling. I mean, there's also this infinity sign, which makes me think of Scorpio, and it's also an 8, 2nd house, 8th house, trying to find that balance between the two. That exact opposition is going to be at the end of February, the 27th or 28th. Breathe, baby, breathe. Pardon me. Now, I did the tarot math associated with this spread. It ended up being 29. 2 plus 9 is 11, and that speaks to the 11th house, and that's ruled by Aquarius. That's the house of the internet. That's also the house of your friends, groups, partner, or your friends, your groups, your memberships, the teams, associations that you belong to. It's also your future wishes, goals, and dreams. So it could be that some of you are dealing with somebody from your past contacting you through the internet, and after this solar eclipse, you're seeing things from a different perspective. And after the Venus retrograde, you're regretting what you did. That's just one way this spread could play out. Another way could be that you're really eager to change jobs, jump jobs, or find new employment, and it may not be everything that it was cracked up to be in the want ads, or however you found it, the employment ads. People are going to be feeling hot-headed, so understand and respect that. Now, when I was shuffling the Healing and Meditation Oracle cards, I was going to start talking about the Venus retrograde, and as soon as I did my cut, this was the card that was looking back at me, the Love card. Now, I'm going to read this card in its entirety, where I normally edit it because it's dealing with not only just intimate love, but sexual love, those types of things. I don't like to get that deep, but since Venus is transiting the 8th house, it's appropriate in this regard. So Virgo, let's go. The love card reads, love can manifest itself in many different forms, but this meditation focuses on sexual love. It reflects the fact that genuine love-making embraces deep consideration for the needs of your partner. Consider the following. May I appreciate the value and the subtleties of true lovemaking. May I always treat my lover with the utmost respect. Greater sensitivity and awareness will lead to greater satisfaction. The most profound joy in lovemaking comes from giving joy to another. Those issues will be playing out in your world in one way or another, Virgo. From the Sage Goddess Gemstone Oracle deck, the Septarian card. It deals with ancient earth wisdom and shielding, and it can help heal and amplify the vibrations of your root chakra. It reads, Septarian facilitates communication with guides and elders while also offering protection and a shield of invisibility around you. You've pulled this card because your guides and elders have a message for you and because you may be under energetic attack. Meditate with Septarian to attune yourself to ancient wisdom, protect yourself with ancestral magic, and to connect deeply with your spirit guides. That 8th house also deals with death, and it may be messages coming to you from the other side, among other things. Finally, from the Divine Circus Oracle deck by Elena Fairchild, you got the 31st card of that deck reading, Crown of the Butterfly Bambini. Whenever I see a butterfly, I think of the 8th house because it's the house of metamorphosis. And I think of the journey of the caterpillar to the butterfly and how their perspective changes. Starting out as a caterpillar, you're on the ground or climbing on things. You transition into a very isolated cocoon and finally break free and fly away and never view the world from the same perspective that you did before. It's beautiful when you think about it from that perspective, but it's difficult when you are going through that growing pain of becoming a butterfly. It's part of it. This is the 31st card, like I said. 3 + 1 is 4, and you have Saturn transiting in that 4th house, Virgo. Saturn is the planet that represents limitation, structure, and containment. So you may be dealing with structural issues in your home. You may be dealing with structural issues in your family. You may be having issues with your bones or your teeth. You may be reassessing your internal philosophies. You may be dealing with father issues as well. This card indicates that the ability to transform is an art form, or better yet, a sacred power. This card is an oracle indicating that life-changing growth is coming to you. You must be open, be willing, and be flexible to receive it. It's a request that you trust in the divine timing of things as they occur. And it's a reminder to embrace the spiritual transformation in all of its glory. Virgo, I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you already have, I thank you from the bottom of my very grateful heart. I want to get this series out to you as quickly as possible so I can start on the Eclipse/Venus retrograde series that I have intended on doing for y'all. Understand that I started back to school recently, so I've got my GPA to be concerned with on top of the readings that I try to provide for y'all as well. So, with that, send me some positive energy, please. I hope that you're well, Virgo. Please take care of yourself. Please be kind to yourself. And please save some of that kindness for others, because we're all going through private battles in our world that some of us may never speak about to another living soul. I'll see you soon, Virgo, but until then, I hope you're well. Take care. Namaste, and bye, y'all.